How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we have my budget branded Despia build for this new format. It's not so new anymore, but things are still evolving, the builds are changing all the time, and I get this in the comments a lot. What about people who need to play under a budget? Well, the basic branded build, in my opinion, is already relatively budget for a deck of this power level, and I think with slight adjustments to your playstyle and the build, it could be basically around $100. So this is the deck we're going to be seeing today. Let's kick this off. If you want 5% off any single or sealed product, head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout. So obviously, you guys are going to roast me in the comments saying that this is a budget build with all starlights and ultis, but of course, all of these cards have replacements that are relatively cheap. This build is around 120 to 100 bucks, so super affordable in my opinion for a tier 1 deck, which branded currently is. And let's start off with the main deck. The whole idea about the main deck here is kind of going back to basics with how branded used to play before Cartesia and before the Bystials, which is a very strong build that people still play a lot today. And this is the patchwork engine, this is things like Allure of Darkness, and just like bumping out the gas, and just like an all gas build that can break boards with its engine. And I've been testing this build, I've been having a lot of fun because it's like a classic branded build, and I think it's super competitive, and also within a budget around $100. So let's start off with 3 Fallen of Albaz. We are playing Allure of Darkness, so again, increasing that light count. This is also good against things like Kashtira, where these can get banished off the top. You might lose your Albaz if you're not careful. If they banish 8, you might lose all of them if you're playing just 2. 3 Aluber, I think this is pretty basic and obvious. We're playing 2 Despian Tragedy, again because of that Allure of Darkness. This is a really good thing to draw with branded opening with Allure of Darkness. Then we are playing 1 Dramaturge of Despia and 1 Ad Libitum. I think Ad Libitum excels in this deck because the lines you go in are the classic lines of when you send Tragedy and Fallen of Albaz to the graveyard with branded fusion in order to grab yourselves Ad Libitum, which is a setup for branded in red for your opponent's turn. Dramaturge is a card that is iffy in some cases, but I think in this build, because it focuses on fusion summoning a lot and not relying on branded fusion, this card comes up a lot and it's just like a super powerful extender that you can easily summon to your field. So these are the Despians and the Albaz. Then we are playing the search targets for your branded Lost, and of course more juice and more extension. We're playing 2 Mercurier. I think 2 Mercurier is really good because it allows you to search things when you banish it with branded with the Allure of Darkness. I think that opening Mercurier and Allure of Darkness is extremely powerful because it's essentially a +2, and you get to search whatever you want from the deck. Really powerful, impactful cards, and you also have a Mercurier left in your deck to use as a negate or as fusion material. Then we're playing 1 Shrouded, we're playing 1 Kit for additional consistency, and then we are playing the 1 Cartesia. I think that this is basically the only expensive card in the deck. This card is currently 50 bucks, and I think that while you don't have to necessarily play the Cartesia, I think that it gives you insane ceiling height for this deck. This increases what the deck can do by a lot, and I think that if the rest of the deck is relatively cheap, everything here has been reprinted in the structure deck or in the latest tins, and the Cartesia, doing the extra push for Cartesia really increases the power of this deck. I think that you could go for things like maybe Light Hex Sealed Fusion to replace this so you can summon the Grand Guignol, but I think going for 1 Cartesia in this deck, which is the biggest investment, I think it's definitely worth it, and it makes the deck so much more powerful because you can search it off of your Mercurier when you banish it from Allure of Darkness, or of course get it from Branded Lost, which is really, really good. We are playing the Edgem Chain package, 2, 2, and 2. This what gives the deck its insane card advantage. Doing activating Fright for Patchwork, going plus, and then using your increased Despia count and things like Dramaturge of Despia, Ad Libitum to extend further and just plus off instead of going minus, which is usually what Branded does. I think it makes the deck super consistent, super powerful, and you just get so many cards in your hand by the end of the turn, which is insane. Then for the spells, we are playing the 3 Branded Fusion, we're playing 3 Branded Opening, we're playing 2 Branded in red. I think this is so good in the grind game. This deck can grind so much, and having 2 Branded in red when you're going for the first one, turn 1, against things like Labyrinth, that you really need this in order to dodge things like Skill Drain, for example. I think 2, and again, this is like the old ways of Despia, super impactful. And I'm really liking this at 2, having the access to another one, which you get to because the grind game is really strong. I think it's super impactful. 1 Branded Lost, this card is everything. 3 Allure of Darkness. This is basically what makes your engine go, and a lot of things plus off from being banished. Tragedy is a 2, and Mercurio is a 2, specifically because of that. And then we're playing 3 Super Polymerization. This card is still relatively affordable, has been released in the Shadow structure deck, I think, the last time, but again, it's a common at the least, so I think this is exceptionally good for breaking boards, and this is, besides your engine, this is the only way you can break boards, and again, with the right targets and the right style of play, it can be a really powerful board breaker because you just can negate it, basically. Then for extra consistency, we are playing the Foolish, we're playing the Gold Sark, we're playing Call by the Grave, and Branded Retribution, which is something that I really don't want to live without. Again, this card allows you to go for the grind game and basically search whatever you need from the deck, grab everything you need from the graveyard. So this is the only trap we're playing. No Bystials, so no Branded Beast, no Regained, no shenanigans like that. And Branded Banishment is an option if you want to test it. This deck is currently main deck 40, so you can try to fit in a Banishment if you feel like it, because you will have a lot of targets in the graveyard, so it might be impactful if you want to test it out. Then for the extra deck, we have 2 of the Mirror Jade, 2 of the Albion, 2 of the Lubellion. Usually, you guys see me playing 1 Lubellion and really insisting that it's all you need. I still think that way, but again, Kashtira is in the format. You don't want to lose your Lubellion because it's your best line in this deck. So instead of, you know, playing Bystials, where your best line is actually going for Albion, this line is better in this deck because of the way you play it with like an ad libitum in red setup, which is the best play in this deck. So this is why we play 2. We are playing 2 Masquerade. I think that with the Edgimp Chain package, you can set up a board turn 1 of 2 Masquerade and a Mirror Jade pretty consistently. It's not a big thing to do in this deck. It's very easy because you have 2 in red, you have 2 polys, you have a way to search them, you have things like that. And 2 Masquerade and a Mirror Jade plus a Branded in red setup is very, very strong against a lot of decks. So this is why I'm playing 2, because you can just get 2 on the field, turn 1, and it's really impactful. I'm playing the Granguignol. I think this card is super, super good in this deck. This card gets you to ad libitum, send it to the graveyard, then you have a setup for Branded red. Again, it's up to you if you do want to play the Cartesia. You can find ways to bring this out, like I said, with Light Hex Sealed Fusion. I don't think it's super optimal, but I would advise you, and this card is like $5, so it's not expensive. I would really advise that the main thing that you buy in this deck is going to be the Cartesia, because everything else is really, really cheap. We are playing the 1 Rinbrum. It's really good interruption if you send it to the graveyard. So I think, again, $5. And these are both like new cards. Starving Venom for the Super Poly. Mud Dragon. You can play Garura instead of the Starving Venom because you can send it off of Granguignol to draw a card. I didn't include it here because of budget reasons. And you definitely don't need it as much as you do the Cartesia. But again, if you have it, you can switch it around. Dragostapelia, Proskinion, and now with the Chimera reprint, it's around $15. So that will be the second most expensive card in your deck with the Ultra releasing right now. And this card is, I also think this card is pretty much a must in this deck because you go for the Chimera line so much with the ad libitum. You just need to play it. And again, $65 for the Cartesia and the Chimera right now. Everything else is $5 or less, with cards like these being extremely cheap. This is extremely cheap. All of these are like basically commons at this point. So I would advise you to play that. Again, The whole deck and the extra deck are between $100 and $120, including the Cartesia and the Chimera, which again, I would really advise you to play. Then for some side deck options, everything is affordable. I think you can play Crossout with Ash. Ash has been just reprinted. Crossout as a secret is around, I believe, $5. Really impactful. Book of Eclipse, we really like this card, and this is a very good card in this format, and it's just been reprinted in Tactical Masters as a rare. So again, not a problem. Evenly matched, just reprinted in the structure deck, the Trap Tricks structure deck. It's around, I think, $2, $3, $4, something like that. Now, super affordable, probably the best board breaker in the game at the moment. Dimensional Barrier for going first or for the Crossout target, printed as a common in Albaz Strike. And another card that has been printed in Albaz Strike is this and the Dark Kaiju, which again, very good cards in this format. Lastly, of course, you know, Cosmic Cyclone is always a really good staple to have. Things like Cosmic, Harpy's Feather Duster that was just reprinted as well. Very strong side deck cards all in all, and I think this will probably cover your entire side deck. I did not include Gimmick Puppet and Expulsion here. Gimmick Puppet, for some reason, has really took a rise in price, and I wouldn't say you have to play it in order to win in this deck. There are other cheap options like Ra's Disciple, stuff like that, but if you do want to include it, it will run you around probably $10 to $15, unfortunately. So this has been my budget deck profile for branded Despia for this format, around $100 to $120 for the entire thing, depending of course on what you go for the side deck, but 40 cards in the main deck and 50 cards extra deck for $100, $120, with Cartesia and Chimera being the most expensive card. This deck is exceptionally powerful, even with its limitations. This is not a new deck, so everything has already been reprinted. And I think that if you are a budget player and if you are interested to picking up a really good deck for a solid price that also has longevity, because we are getting more support in 2 months for branded. So I don't think anybody's touching this deck on any list. Maybe Gimmick Puppet could get banned, but other than that, the deck is relatively going to stay in full power, and it's a really good investment for probably the next 4 to 6 months of this deck being playable. And the price is only going lower and lower. So hopefully you did enjoy this video. Leave a comment down below on what you thought about this deck. How are you playing the budget version of branded Despia? Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe if you are new. As always, if you want to support the channel, you can pick up some of my merch in the website in the description below. Join our Discord, or even better, become a member so you can access our members only Discord group for all of these deck lists ahead of time before everybody else. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.